also has fixed rate mortgages, and which is Finland. Okay, but it's the country is way too small. The importance of the country mortgage program is important. I mean, not so much. Okay. So I think fixed rate mortgages are very straightforward. Interest rates are fixed, i.e., throughout the maturity, your mortgages are fixed at rate, say 5%, 7%, and because of fixed rate mortgages, we're able to price. Otherwise, things become very complicated if interest rates are adjustable, just like what we have in Taiwan, in your country. I don't see anyone from Finland. So apparently, no matter where you're from, okay, you only rate mortgages. In turn, adjustable rate mortgages are, in general, not suitable for mortgage-backed securities. Okay, but somehow some countries put adjustable rate mortgages into asset securitization program, but pricing becomes very difficult. So investors become kind of relying on the movement of settings by the central banks. Okay, so fixed rate mortgages are very important materials or tools which can be used in asset securitization. Okay, I think I covered fixed rate mortgages last time. Did I or did I not? Okay. Okay. Fixed rate mortgages. Apparently, interest rates are fixed, and fixed rate mortgages lead to a very important factor that causes of pricing. Prepayment. And make sure you understand prepayment, because this factor will be factored in the model of pricing MBS. Without prepayment, we're unable to MBS in the first place. Okay? But make sure you understand that prepayment is 100% different from although terms refer to repayments back to lenders. Curtailment in general tells us that borrowers repay some of the principals back to lenders instead of repayment in full. So you need to make sure the difference between the two terms. Okay. Are you with me? Okay. Prepayment means that you repay your principal full to your lenders. Curtailment means that you repay part of your principal to lenders. You need to know the difference. So if you're not, okay, I take it perhaps I have to rephrase the repayment in a little bit different ways. Even though you have a adjustable rate mortgages, you are still allowed to repay or to prepay your mortgage principals. Okay? But financial models or SSC require us, in general, when you have FRMs, prepayment becomes standard. But if you are ARMS borrowers, your prepayment incentives are very different from fixed rate mortgages. Okay? So that's the key differences. So you are allowed to prepay given you are having a adjustable rate mortgage. But financial models or oftentimes focus on fixed rate mortgages instead of adjustable rate mortgages. Okay. I think you can read the PowerPoints, what the features of FRMs are. And the second problem refers to relationship between interest rates, mortgage terms, and prepayments. I think perhaps I already mentioned last time, if you have a fixed rate mortgage, interest rate set at 10%, so interest rate might move up and down. Can you tell me when you may prepay mortgages? Your fixed rate mortgages, interest rates moving up or down? Anyone? Or anyone here in class? When interest rates moving up or down, you may prepay your principals. For instance, when interest rates moving downwards, say at 8%, what can you do? If interest rates are moving downwards to 8%, 5%, as a borrower, what can you do? Anyone? You can turn on your microphone if you want to answer the question.
Hello, Professor. This is Vincent. Well, if the interest rate go down by 8%, it's like the borrower wants to pay the principal first because the interest rate is getting lower, so we pay lower interest rates. And that is, we can just pay the principal first, so we don't cover a lot of interest expenses.
Right, but by doing what? To prepay your principal. When interest rates are moving downwards, you can refinance your mortgages by borrowing at low rate, the current rate, and then prepay your mortgage balance of principals back to your lenders. We call it refinancing process to borrow at low rate to pay your high rate mortgage. So this is called the refinancing. So borrowing at low rate and prepay the remaining balance of your mortgages. How about interest rates moving upwards? What would you do as a lender? I mean, borrower. Interest rates moving up to, say, 15%. What would you do as a borrower? Anyone here? You may want to answer. Interest rate moving upwards. What would you do as a borrower? Will you do anything? Here? Anyone? Anyone? What would you do?
I think you just need to stay happy and enjoy your life, and no need to do any movements.
We don't need to do anything, right?
I think so. It makes
Okay.
no sense.
Then, who will suffer from this scenario? Interest rates moving upwards.
Of course, lender.
Right, lenders will suffer, right? If you
Yeah, it's opportunity cost.
Yeah, okay, hold on. If you were a lender, let's assume, what would you do when you face this fiasco? Interest rates moving upwards, higher than 10%. What can you do? Anyone here want to give it a shot? Interest rate moving upwards. The current cost of borrowing, say 15% as a lender, what would you do? Yes? I'm sorry? Can you make it louder? No, I mean, so say let's focus on this specific lending, right? You are the lender. In the difficulty markets, interest rates are moving upwards, right? Interest rates are moving upwards, and so apparently you suffer as a lender. I suffer losses. I mean, although we haven't talked about this yet, but you think about it. Why the U.S. can offer fixed rate mortgages at a scenario where lenders may suffer when interest rates move upwards, higher than 10% of the original lending rate. What can you do? We will cover that later, okay? But we covered that last semester when we talked about financial management. And I think there's something we can do, and as a lender, you may do something. Some hints. We try not to get too much details in the process of facing the fiasco. Anyone? I think we covered that last semester. Anyone wants?
Okay, can I guess it's maybe a little bit straightforward, but probably lender can renegotiate with his current borrower conditions. For example, he will provide extra financing, like increase principal, but choose like some mean value of this new rate and old rate, like for example 12%, but higher principal, at least to, I don't know, to compensate your losses, at least partially.
Okay, so I don't know who is talking. Time can record so they will have the records of who is talking, and so we may have some records of participation. And but I don't somehow, if you were a lender, right? You lent money to a borrower at a 10% fixed rate. And after 1 year or 5 years, and the interest rates move up towards, say, 15%. Okay, lenders in general are unable to. So you guys listen carefully. Lenders are not to renegotiate with your borrowers. Not allowed. Okay. Although you can do one thing. Okay, you can do one thing to recall the mortgages, i.e., you tell the borrower that you want your principal back. You can do it, okay? Negotiating the terms, you're unable to do so, unfortunately, okay? You have the right, as a lender, you can ask your borrower to prepay based on some regulations. You have the right to ask borrower to prepay all the principals remaining. You have the right. Oftentimes, lenders would put the clause or some regulations into the contract, into the documents or the mortgage, that lenders have the right to ask borrowers to repay. But borrowers. So what can borrowers do? If you, so some of you sit here and others sit in front of your PC or notebook or your iPhone, mobile phones. If lenders ask borrowers to repay their loans, what can borrowers do? I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Okay, you may just say discount. Okay. You got to pay, all right? You have no choice but to pay your lenders back. But oftentimes lenders would not do that, okay? Would not do that. But this is not decision to make your borrowers repay. It's not a decision, okay? And instead, I think we have lots of financial tools in the markets available. Lenders may have some derivatives to hedge the risks when interest rates move upwards and higher than the fixed rate when the contract was signed by two parties. And we will cover that sometime later, right? And oftentimes, lenders would do some hedging, okay? Hedging the risks by doing swaps, interest swaps, basis swaps, and so on. All right. So only when the market is big enough, derivatives are available in a wide ranges, so that lenders are willing to offer fixed rate mortgages. In the world, there's only one or two countries that offer fixed rate mortgages: the US and another small country, Finland. No other countries are able to or are willing to offer fixed rate mortgages. So there's a trade-off for fixed rate mortgages. Interests might move up or down. Okay, when interest rates moving downwards, oftentimes financial institutions or lenders, particularly in the United States, mortgage companies such as New Century, we covered some time ago, might lend money to borrowers. So when interest downwards, in this case, American lenders have securitized their mortgages to issue MBS or ABS or CDOs. Okay? So when interest rates moving downwards, prepayment occurs widely in a country like the US. Okay? But lenders or originators already the risks of downward interest rates or declining interest rates. They have nothing in their portfolio. Almost not everything, but perhaps 30 to 40 to 50% of the have been originated and sold to SPVs. Remember, securitization process SPVs have been set up to buy mortgages. In this case, mortgages are mostly fixed rate mortgages instead of adjustable rate mortgages. So the market is huge. Investors rush to buy MBS which are originated from or based on fixed rate mortgages. All right, let's move on to, so now you need to kind of focus more on prepayment, because I mean, next problem set number 4 will tell us what the products of MBS are. There are more than, say, 10, 20, 30 mortgage securities available in the markets, okay? And we'll cover that perhaps today or next after midterm. So we have 1 hour for case presentation, but I'll try my best to cover lecture problem set number 4 today. Okay. So number 3 in problem set 3, why is the mortgage balance important? Mortgage balance. Remaining balance. Why this is important? Anyone wants to? You may find, so now you may put your PowerPoints, this whole set PowerPoints. You can easily, okay, answers can be found in the sets. Okay, anyone? Is the mortgage balance important? Anyone? Here? Good shot. Why is the mortgage balance important? Okay, I'll give you. And the answer to the question is, if you don't know the mortgage balance, you are unable the current of value of your holding as. So you need to know the pool is the collateral to be secured early on. So you know the balance of the pool. You are able to price the value of your holdings of the MBS. Hold MBS class B or class C or class BC and so on. So as an investor, you need to be able to price the value of your holdings, and mortgage is an or the risk factor able to price the value of your MBS. What are the key components of mortgage cash flows? Anyone here? So you look at your PowerPoints in paper to answer the question. So what are the key components of mortgage cash flows? Anyone here? Okay. Interest payment, principal payments, what else? Penalty? Okay, very good. Oftentimes, to represent principal, interest, and servicing fee, you may put it as S, F, or fees, what have you. So principal, servicing fees. What else? You can think of cash flows. Each month.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Come on. There's the echo.
Can you unmute? I think it's the number of months in the mortgage.
I'm sorry? Can you repeat your answer?
Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, there's an echo, please. I don't know. Perhaps you can turn your voice, your volume a little bit lower.
Lower, okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the can be the number of months in the mortgage. How long the mortgage will be lasted?
Okay, that's one of the factors. I agree with you. Now the question is the cash flow. Consists of the cash flows in every month payments. Other principal, interest, servicing fees. What else you can receive for? I mean, in the cash flows, monthly cash flows. What are of the cash flows? Mortgage cash flows, principals, interest rates, and servicing fees. What else? Yeah, I understand there are other factors, but I'm not. I'm talking about cash.
Oh, okay.
Come again?
What about the mortgage payment every month?
Every month, you will receive
Yeah.
cash flow, including principals, interest rates, servicing fees. What else you may receive as an investor? You may, or you may not. We want to know what else you may receive as an investor. Or if we don't talk about investors, how about cash each month? There's a cash flow coming from borrowers, right? Presumably, borrowers pay back to or her lenders, right? What consists of the cash flows? Or the mortgage cash flows include several other than principal, interest rate, servicing fees. What else you may think of is included in the mortgage cash flows? And this is practice. We have one or two cases regarding the cash flow. What? Right? Anyone? Other than servicing fees, what else? Right? Prepayment cash flows. Some prepayments are expected or unexpected. So what do expected? We expect from lenders, borrowers, right? But what do I mean? Prepayment. So what is it? Why can I? Someone, I don't remember. Victoria. So I say that I'm going to prepay. Have that kind of predict going to prepay next month. Or your name. Rick, okay, my Eric and Victoria, both of you are here. So how can I expect you two will prepay this month? So should I, based on some, the two of you going to prepay, or next, or say Tanya is to prepay? How can I separate two? The other one is, so this an important component of cash flows. This is pretty much like, this is the uncertainty involved uncertainty. Okay. Prepayment is that the value of, and some expected, unexpected. There's no such thing as certainty. Okay, so you need that. If I mentioned you guys, can my salary be securitized? Not really, right? Because my salaries are fixed, no uncertainty. Okay, my salaries are fixed, very certain. Cash flows of salaries are unable to be securitized. But this cash flows, particularly prepayment, unpredicted, i.e., some is unexpected, other times prepayment is expected. So we combine these two forces into pricing the value of MBS. That makes MBS risky, a little bit riskier than corporate bonds, government bonds. On the other hand, pricing these products is a little bit tricky. So prepayment is the key component involved riskiness. Okay. Another riskiness of mortgage products, perhaps you'll come back to that term in the next gen CDO case. Now I give you the other risk factor. Okay. Default. Two forces make MBS, CDS appealing to hedge fund managers, asset managers, or individual investors, because of these two factors, which make MBS, ABS, CDOs riskier than you. Can you think who will or her mortgage? Can't, right? How can I know will default on her mortgage or her student loans or her car loans or credit? Can't, right? Something in financial market, risk. I take it back. All products must risk in it so that people are rushed to buy. If you buy something that has no risk, very much. If you that has no risk, meaning that no markets. Okay. So make sure you understand this. Prepayment. Key components of in asset securitization. These key. So perhaps bonds, government markets is one of the risk factors. But in mortgage, ABS, MBS, CDO markets, prepayment risk affects the value of ABS. Okay? So these are the most important. How can I say? I have to move on. Okay, so but I'll tell you why sooner or later. Okay, expected means that PSA. You just keep that in mind. When I say two of them expected to prepay because of PSA prediction. Okay, but say Tanya is prepay her mortgage because she out of the PSA. So Public Securities Association, this organization published the prepayment speed. We'll cover that sooner. Then, okay, why are there not too many? We don't. Okay, not in your country. Okay, no matter where fixed rate mortgages. Perhaps we do, but that's very unique. Lender, I mean, the borrowers must have some certain qualifications. So we exclude that type of mortgage in mortgage markets. So different FIMs. I think we can find it. The points. Okay, what are points? Meaning that when you money to buy a house, you may take some point principles. I.e., if you borrow 100,000, say 10 million NT, and you receive $9,900,000, 100,000 are deducted for the transaction. We call it the 1% point. You fees taken your lenders. Okay, cost increases when you have the points away per lenders. Important is interest in ARMs and ARMs. So if you take this course or you're taking some bond market courses, understand why the Fed is so important when sets interest rates up, okay? Because the Fed determines the borrowing cost for individuals in even, right? If the Fed set very low, the government have a very low borrowing cost. In turn, the government some money, some interest costs. Okay? And in turn, if the US, all other countries will follow suit. Perhaps, say Taiwan set interest rates a little bit higher to by the Fed, when sets interest rates a little bit higher. So we are just moving in the same manner. The interest rates upwards in the US, countries may move the interest rates upward. On the contrary, in current the pandemic is spreading so fast, all central banks in the world, interest rate, okay, some already set lower than zero, i.e., negative interest rate environment is right, and students focusing on the next research for her thesis. I think that's a very interesting topic for her and for me to. Okay, I love the topic, negative interest rate environment, how the financial securities. And so we're doing things in a trendy manner, right? How that affects interest, financial security, particularly in asset securitization markets. Okay, interest rate in yeah, it's very okay. And when we talk about the case, you know, interest rate movement in say 10 basis points, that would in turn affect the price of MBS, one of the MBS or the securities. That's just one, perhaps all securities pricing or corporate bond, government bond pricing will be affected accordingly. 10% basis points movements that would affect the value of all securities, particularly fixed income securities around the world. It's kind of a butterfly effect. So the U.S. market, you know, interest rate, government bond, accordingly, different products, results. So pricing affected. And what is a lockout? Mortgage lockout. So you look at solution. Okay. Okay. Let's take a break because there's some internet linkage problem. Take a 10 minutes break.